Parasocial relationships, people. This is a fascinating theme. Okay, I thought let's share a few words on this. Now, I put that up there for you guys to take a look at. That what is it? What does it refer to? And what does psychology have to say about it? So you had these two researchers and psychiatrists from the 50s, actually, Donald Horton and Richard Wall, who wrote a paper back then in 1956 about this, the parasocial interaction. And parasocial relationships are fascinating, actually. They are, in essence, they are what we, and they were writing about this in the 50s. Check that out. That's just madness. They observed that people develop an intimate relationship with, in their time, people via radio or some limited access of TV, for example, or movies, whereby people feel that they have an actual relationship with these people. And they don't mean by an actual relationship in the sense that they don't think, oh, I'm married to such and such, or that person lives in my house and lives in my. They don't think like that. So, but exposure to whether it's celebrities or nowadays, especially people on social media, they may be content creators, they may be uh, politicians, they may be actors, they may be singers, musicians, comedians, just people with opinions. They may be teachers, people like me are sitting on here teaching. What happens is, see, this is really fascinating. Okay, pause this for a moment. To understand it, we've got to understand the human brain. The human brain, as a core part of its survival, it's kind of its survival tactics or strengths, survival strengths, is that it incorporates others into its worldview by means of value. And it's necessary to do this for us to become a team, or for us to work together, for us to just hold some value in life for the other person. So you make friends with someone, you're like, oh my God, and that's such an amazing, oh my God, really value this friendship. And you see kids get really excited about friends. And that's because it's very full of energy and at that young age. And as people mature, they try to control certain emotions and they learn to handle things. But as kids, these are so raw, these expressions. Kids are so excited. I can't wait to see my friend. I can't wait to. And that friend has an important part in their existence. So they introject the person into their worldview. So they say, well, oh, this person's like this is his story, this is who he lives with, these are his parents, these are. So it's very important. Now, being able to do this is necessary in boosting our survival, really, as a person, and by extension as a species. It's necessary as a social clique that we have the ability to do this. This kind of um, friend glue that we have, it is necessary for us to survive. Because if we didn't have that, other people who did have that would definitely overcome you. Like, you can see how amazing that would be as a survival strength. So, okay, now let's come back to this point. Now, in this day and age, social media is really fascinating, because what happens is it gives you access to countless individuals and their lives, or at least what they want to show of their lives. Like, maybe people don't show so many things of their life, but what they choose to show. And what you find is if you watch someone, especially where they are reasonably natural. So let's say you watched a movie, it may not happen as easily because in a movie, it depends on the character the person is playing. But we can often tell that's a movie. Or let's say I watch somebody sing songs all the time, and every time you watch them, they're singing songs. That may not work as easily. But if you watched people being natural, just normal, like they're just sitting down, just having a drink, just cracking a joke, smiling, talking, the mind cannot distinguish between the virtual and the real. Okay, don't think, the mind is seriously can't. There's a lot of experiments where you'll get people who uh, they will see, let's say, social media, like video clips of, or even pictures on some occasions, but especially videos because they're moving and more real lifelike, of people that are deemed to be attractive to the subject. So let's say the person thinks, oh, they're deemed to be cute and attractive. Where they will, in the clip, that person will smile or give them a kind of, let's say, a flirtatious look towards the camera, or smile in that kind of, that a bit of that nutty kind of look to the camera. Naturally, the person that is looking into this screen will react by smiling. And they've done many experiments like this. People will just, so what happens is you will naturally smile when you see somebody, because even though it's a screen, but the mind can't in the moment distinguish between real and what isn't real. That's why people, for example, when they're watching a movie, they'll start crying. It's not that they don't know this is a movie. Let's say it's really emotional, or they'll get scared. It's not that they don't know they're sitting in a cinema or they're sitting in front of a TV, but in the moment, the mind can't distinguish. Same thing with porn. Why it works? Because the mind can't distinguish between the real and what isn't real, even though the person may know it isn't real. So the emotional scene they're watching in a movie, in a drama, or the horror, the scare, or these things, the sexual excitement when people are watching porn or different things, the reason they are working on the brain in the same way as something real is because in that moment, distinguishing is very difficult. The mind sees it as real. So even though the prefrontal cortex knows that it isn't real, but in the moment it perceives it as real. So now when you watch someone, coming back to parasocial relationships, when you watch someone, especially being let's somewhat normal, like they're sitting, they're talking, they're cracking jokes, maybe they're laughing, doing something, or as people, they vlog nowadays. Let's say they're vlogging, hey, I'm going for a walk and I'm taking my dog on a walk, or here I am in my house and hey, I'm with this person, hey, I'm going to the cafe now, hey, I'm doing this. And so what happens is you get these windows into these kind of intimate windows into a person's life, to the extent that you feel that by the end of it, that you know this person like a friend. It's like the mind catches on to that friend function that it has, because the only time you would have that much exposure with someone at that intimate level is if they were a friend. So now that this happens in your mind, even though like you may think, like, it's not that you would say, maybe some people would, but let's say they follow some celebrities or stars or people from social media. It's not necessary that they would think that, oh, if somebody asked them, is that person your friend? But in their mind, it's difficult for it to distinguish. It assumes that they're a part of it. And this can happen by even things like TV series. You can watch a TV series. I bet many of us may have watched a TV series that was so long that by the end of it, you felt that you were a part of the of the whole setup. It's crazy. It's like when it finishes, you're left kind of with a void, and you're left feeling a bit weird because your mind set up a reality. And when that TV series stops after, let's say, 6 or 8 seasons, you feel like, ah, but the mind's like, where did that go? So these are things to become really to heighten our awareness of, because parasocial relationships, right, they are becoming more and more commonplace, but just because of social media and what we have access to. Now, are these things good? So they can have many they can have strengths to them. So for example, a person, they could be inspired by these people, and maybe the normal friends around them wouldn't inspire them. So now they watch someone and they think, ah, they say that you're the average of the 5 friends that you have. You're like the average of them. So maybe a lot of the friends some people have are, are also redundant. Like they're not doing anything in life, and they're not, and they're just people just aim so low in life. So maybe they follow someone that online, or they follow an artist, or they follow a book writer, or they follow a singer, or they follow somebody or they follow a teacher, or they follow people, listen to Islamic stuff, let's say, or they learn, or now maybe that person inspires them, so they improve their life by it. What can also happen, sometimes people can set that as a virtual kind of higher ego of to hold themselves accountable to. Weirdly enough, now that may sound crazy, but people do it. Like they might think, oh, I wouldn't want to, like, weirdly, like, let's say they motivate, I'm going to be successful, like they listen to this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to set this up, and somehow they feel that it's almost as though they want that person to be proud of them, and they don't want to disappoint that person, as weird as that sounds, but that actually does happen. And in that sense, even if it's false, it still can be very, when I say false, because the relationships in real life, the other person sometimes doesn't even know that they exist. And that's where it gets a bit bizarre, because now, you see, it depends, because, well, maybe you can go online and interact nowadays with celebrities and people, and you write messages and you follow them, you and that's all great, but then they have to remember that really the other person doesn't really know them. They don't truly, I mean, generally speaking, these people on social media, they wouldn't know the people that follow them. Maybe they've seen a message, or they haven't, and seen a comment, but they wouldn't really know. So it's all really a one-way relationship. So that's, by the way, that's where they get cognitive dissonance. That's why these scandals become so huge, because it's like, oh, wait a minute, that's not how I knew this person. So they find this celebrity that there was something on social media about some American co-hosts that present a morning program that have now been sacked because they both are in a romantic relationship with each other. I mean, they were married, but they are now in a romantic relationship with each other. So this got exposed, and now they got sacked. Now somebody may say, well, what's, okay, but that's their private business. Sure, if they, let's say, they fell into a romantic relationship, and sure, whether it's good or bad, but why does it make a difference if they are a morning host for a good morning show, whatever it is? Because the issue is, you see, that's not what these people have, because in their image of this person, it's what they've built up. Oh, this person is like this. Oh, this person is like, oh my God, the person, now all of a sudden they do something that doesn't fit that story, and it creates in people an irrational reaction. Like, oh, it's really weird, but it does. And this is because the initial thing wasn't true. Like, if you think about it, people who follow those celebrities, those co-hosts, they didn't really know them. They just know what people present about you. Anybody that's on social media presenting something, remember, they only present what they want to present. Sure, maybe some people present everything, but most people will only present what they want to present. I mean, I've been on social media for years. When I sit to do my live streams or teach or to do whatever I'm doing, remember, people are only sharing what we want to share. If there's something I didn't want to share, I wouldn't share it. It doesn't matter whether people want. So there will always be sides to, there will always be things that are, so our perspectives will always be skewed. So it can have some strengths, it can inspire us, it can do things, it can have some issues, like, for example, if people become obsessed, people become fixated, if people have false expectations, if people become deluded almost. It's crazy. I was watching this thing on, there's a social media, and now you have a few of them. This celebrity, what was her name? There was this program mentioning her, Lil but anyway, this female celebrity, and she sings and does all these things online, and she had about 3 million followers. I think it was on Instagram, or was it TikTok? I think Instagram. Except she's AI. She doesn't exist. She's artificial intelligence. She actually doesn't exist. She's just like conjured up by AI. And that's just mad. Like, so that's crazy. I mean, it's like, whoa, okay. So the person isn't even real. So that's so this is interesting, definitely. So the more we become aware of these, what we want to also focus is on real relationships in real life. Use the strengths. Don't get, if you find yourself getting too fixated, especially where they're fictitious characters. It's like kids having imaginary friends, and now adults have got imaginary friends. But especially if it's somebody that isn't even real, or if somebody's in love with a movie character or a TV character, now that's just fictitious. Even the person playing him or her is not him or her. So that is quite delusional, okay, and could have a lot of harms. But okay, if they're real people and somebody follows them, and that's good, and maybe if they're using them for inspiration, that's wonderful. And but at the same time, also use some of that energy in our real world, build relationships, invest in real relationships as well. And that's obviously, and to be fair, to some extent, social media has made some people quite accessible, and that's actually wonderful as well. I tell you, I seriously, like, I think now, like, think of this Patreon thing. This is amazing. Just this week, yeah. So one of my Patreons that I have, so we have these one-to-one sessions. So one of them, this person from America, yeah, like, we discussed. I mean, this week, it was just wow. Like, honestly, like, since we sat into, so it's like an hour session, yeah, and we the person had certain points of, I want to discuss these things beforehand, and let me know. And they were on things like identity, the ontology of religion, Muslim politics. Why does the for example, the populist, why are certain people drawn, why are the more people drawn to a da'wah the kind of street da'wah that you see than they are to more intellectual discourses. Then discussing things like, let's say, details on how do people perceive religion? What about the historical links that we're seeing between certain parts? But it was just like a rich wow, like it's like just coffee, talk, and the hour was up. Yeah. Now, to be fair, something like that is actually very meaningful because, in a way, I wish, honestly, I was thinking about this because, afterwards we were talking on some points, and I said that I'm going to speak about some of these points on my meaning with MALM as well. But I was thinking, I wish before, when I was learning, or just earlier in life, I wish I had back then we had access like this. Because think about it. How many friends of yours do you actually, even, let's say, once a month for a whole hour, actually go into deep discourse and discussions with? Many people, if they're lucky, they probably get to, maybe there's one or two friends that they in a month get to meet like that, with deep, like meaty discussions. And yeah, like that's honestly, I was thinking to myself that that's just wow. It is something. Like, I would love to, even now, I would love to be able to do it with certain people, but they just don't host these kind of, they're not on these kind of platforms to be available like that. But I would love to be able to just pick their brains for like a whole, like, just obviously in with that, obviously the one-to-one experience. But yeah, so coming back to this, it is important, I think, especially with more younger people, to become aware of these parasocial um, relationships, and just not that, if we can channel them towards more khair and positivity, inspiration, motivation, use some of the energy and feed it back into our real lives, in real relationships, and keeping in mind as well that these relationships that we have online are not, they're not the, like, there's an element to them that is not real life. Okay. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, let's say now, people I speak to people, this is actually a good one. This is quite relevant and not so long ago as well. Like, I was speaking to this person, speaking to me, and is messaging me, and when he's messaging me like we're absolute buddies and we hang out. Like, but we don't, though. I mean, I don't know. Okay, like, I've seen some messages, but they're like, yeah, Mufti and this, and then not just cracking jokes, but like I give you an example. I was a bit poorly, and I wasn't feeling well. In fact, it took me a while to shake this bloody flu cold off. And this person said to me, "Oh, how are you feeling?" That's a nice question. I said, "Alhamdulillah, Allah be praised." I said, "I'm a bit, under the weather and stuff." And the person said, what's wrong with you? You're always getting ill, ain't you? Ha ha ha! Like, you didn't." And I was, I found that quite rude. Like, I was like, "Excuse me." Like, who are you talking to? Like, I don't know. But that's a clear example of, you see, this kind of parasocial relationship, because he's obviously seeing me often, and maybe I'm laughing and doing things, and he's assuming that this is like a bi-directional. That said, to be honest, I thought it was a bit rude anyway, because I wouldn't really even speak like that to my mates. And so I immediately blocked him. Of course, I blocked him. I was like, "Sorry, who do you think you're talking to, mate?" I said that. So I just block. But that is also an instantiation of this parasocial relationship issue, where it becomes an issue where you don't, the line, the propriety, the boundaries are blurred, because you assume, just because that person seems so familiar to you, that you are familiar to them, which isn't necessarily in that way. But yeah, guys, I want to share some of that. I hope it's of some help. Let's move on.